Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. So, continuing on our journey in CSS, today we would be studying about display flex and display uh, grid. Now, whenever we do display flex, basically flex turns an element into a flex container, right? So, we will be turning the elements into a container, allowing the children to be the flex items. So, the flex, flex items are going to be the children. Okay, so these are my flex items that are placed, and these are the children, right? Now, so what is going to happen is so the size of the flex container, when you apply no properties, it is equivalent to the size of um, it is equivalent to size is basically equivalent to the size of the content of the children, right? So whenever you do display flex, inherently what is going to happen is all elements are going to be squares, and then elements will be placed side by side each, right? So and they will be squares, and like they will occupy the minimum possible places. So remember, this flex property is going to be applied on the so this flex property is going to be applied on the flex container. This is going to be applied on the flex container. So this is being applicable on the flex uh, container, and its children elements are what are going to be made as display flex, right? So these are the children elements that are going to be made display. These are the children elements that are going to be as display flex. The children elements are basically nothing but going to be the flex elements. Okay, let us see some examples. So what we are going to do is, so inside here we are going to create we are going to have a div tag, and then so you're going to have a div tag. Then inside this div, so this is going to be my container class, right? So this is going to be uh, and then basically these are going to be my div elements, right? So if I do div into, so basically what we are going to do is we're going to apply the flex properties to the parent, right? And then that is going to affect the elements present inside or the child container. So basically this is the child containers or the child elements that are going to work. Now if you go and okay, let's start the live server here, and then okay, let's cut this URL, and then yeah, let's open it in a private browser. So you go here, maximize this, and then do 127 and click on this, and then basically this is going to, so right now I haven't applied display flex, but the moment I give it a flex, this is right now okay. Let us apply, let us say this is my container, and then and then and then your display, we are going to make it as display flex, and then so what is going to happen is all the elements are going to shrink, and the size of the container is going to be uh, the size of the content, right? So if you do 127 here, okay, so basically while by now, okay, let's see if it's correctly applied. This is my contain. It's contain. Okay, let's say let's have the name written properly. So this is going to be container, and then save it. And this is my container, and this is going to be display flex. So what is going to now why all these are shrinking is because they are going to take the least possible space, as long as the moment you apply, it is going to shrink and take the least possible space, that is going to be equal to the space of the content and space of the content. Now what if you want to so by default it is going to be flexed. So there are two ways. So either you can okay now either you can, so whenever you, so this, yeah, you are going to apply the flex property on this parent container, and which is going to place these elements as flex, right? So these are the flex elements that are going to be placed. So this is going to be my flex. Now okay, so the first thing that we are going to do is basically so there are two possible ways in which you can arrange uh, there are two possible ways to arrange the elements. So first is you can place them in rows, and the second arrangement is you can uh, arrange them in column, right? So you cannot do both simultaneously. Either they would be placed in rows, or either they would be placed in columns. Now to define whether you are placing it in rows or column, you are going to do a property called as flex direction, right? The flex direction indicates like where the elements will be placed. Either they will be placed in a row direction, or either they will be placed in uh, column, right? Okay, so this is how the elements are going to be placed. Then the second thing that you're going to do is uh, yeah, so the moment we do flex, it is going to take the minimum space possible. Now what we can do is we can align the atoms. So like there are two ways to align. So either you can have this as the flex box. So this is going to be the start, right? So this is my start, and this is my okay. Either this is going to be my, either we are going to place the element in the start, or what we are going to do is we are going to place the or the other thing that we are going to do is we're going to place the element at the end, right? Now when we place so this is basically how our align item is going to work. Either you are aligning at the start, or either you are aligning them at the end. And then there is something called as, at the moment you do the flex, they are going to be squished, right? So if you want to have spacing between the elements, then what you do is you kind of do something like gap. So if I say gap is 10 pixels, now if I go to uh, if I go to if I see them in the browser, okay, so yeah, so every element is going to have a gap of 10 from each other. So if you go to network, and then okay, let's go to our our element is, yeah, if you go here, okay, let's go on the, so this is flex, and basically we are having this 10 pixel, right? So this is going to so every element has like a 10 pixel spacing before it. So this is 10 pixels, this is 10, this is 10. So by default the flex direction is row wise. If you go to container and say um, so the default direction, the default flex direction is row wise. Okay, so default, by default the elements element items are going to be placed in row. Now there's something called as justify content, right? So what if you want to justify? So let's say if you want to do justify, so basically align items is along the y-axis and justify content is okay. Yeah, I forgot to see that. Wait, let's go back here. Now this is align items, right? So it's going to be along the x-axis, and along y-axis you're going to have justify center, right? So this is the y-axis, this is the x-axis. So if I want to like make it center, so what I will do is you need to move it to center along y and make it move it from top, right? Like along both axes we want to move it. So if I do okay, let's do an align item. So align content will only move the content, the box is as it is. Align items, align items center, and then justify content center. The moment we do this 127, so the items are going to be centered along y, and so this is, so in this container, so y is along this and x is this centering, right? So in that container it will be centered along y and centered along x both. Now okay, let's close this thing. Let's open a new so this is the x and y centering along both. Now there are certain shorthand properties as well, right? For example, flex grow. Now you have something called as flex grow. So now basically is, so whenever we are going to have an so flex grow, so when I'm going to do one, so what is going to happen is so by default the value of flex grow is going to be 0. Okay, now flex grow defines how much a flex item should grow relative to its sibling to fill all available spaces inside a flex container. So if this is my flex container, this is my flex container, so we are going to mention how much now this is going to be applied on the properties, right? Okay, so on the flex items, flex grow defines how much a flex item with relative to its siblings to fill the available spaces. That means how much it should grow. Okay, when we say about growth, we are talking about dynamic, right? So what if I try to close this? So when I try shrinking is what if you try to shrink it, then there is going to be a change, right? So Okay, so now let's apply it on the flex items, right? Let's go. Okay, so let's say let's have a class here inside the items, and then say classes container. This is my okay. Let's put this as items, and then now let's come to items, and then let's say flex grow, and then let's say this is one. Now when I'm going to do this, what is going to happen is so remember, so this is going to push all the contents at the end. uh, this means let this item take up any available extra spaces equally with any other item that also have flex grow 1. So by default the value of flex grow is kept as 0, right? So if I say this is 1, that means uh, flex grow is 0, so these are all not growing, right? So this content is going to take all the available spaces, grow to fill the available spaces. Then 2 is takes more space relatively. Mm, let's see a little bit. Flex grow. Uh, let's see example of flex grow. So by default, so this is the extra space. Okay, let's remove that justify content property because that is going to do some damage. Now what is going to happen is so when I get or when I remove that, you see this is okay, and let's get rid of flex grow as well for the time being. Let's cross it out. So now by default, what is good? So this is the extra space, right? This much is the extra space. So what I'm going to say is let one take all the extra space available, and then so when I do this, so this is basically saying that one is going to take and push all the items to the right hand side. Okay, so now what if I have flex grow on? What if this is my item? And what if I go to styles on CSS and go to items 2, and then I'm going to apply flex. I'm going to apply flex grow here as well, and let's say this is okay. Let's say this is 2. So now when you have two items being flex, oh, is it? No, this is items and this is items too. So let's go to our board and try to. Oh, where was TL document? Let's open TL. Yeah, no. Did I close TL draw? Yeah, okay. If I go on the whiteboard now, so what is if I have two items as flex grow? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate the total grow. Okay. Let's say total grow is equivalent to total grow is going to be 3, and then item 1 or this is going to take 1 by 3, and this is going to take 2/3. This is 1/3 and 2/3. So 1/3 is going to be like 0 point something, 0.03, and this is going to be 0 point. This is going to take more space, right? Item 2 should take in more. Okay, let's go here and say instead of having high here, we say this is. If you say this is item 2, okay, so this is going to be my item 2 space. This is going to be my high. Okay, so remember high. So items 2 is taking 2/3 space, and item 1 is only taking the 1/3 space. Now, what if we want to have if I want to do equal spacing, then I can give them as if instead of having it like 2 over here, what if I make it 1? So this is going to be 1/3, 1/3. So both are going to be, so this is going to be half, and this is going to be half. Let's see. So yeah, this is taking exactly half, and this is taking the exact half, and this is the remaining elements that are present. So it's basically out of the remaining space which is available. This is going to take my half, and this is going to take my half. Okay. The next thing that I have is basically flex shrink, right? And I have something called as flex shrink. The flex shrink is so how much of flex item is allowed to shrink when there is not enough space. For example, how much should I shrink the items? So this is basically how much the item should grow when there is available space. A flex shrink is how much space should the items take when we are going to shrink. So basically this is how my flex shrink is, right? And then so how much is this going to be? The flex shrink is going to take is basically going to just going to, when I shrink, how much the item should shrink when there is not enough space available. So how it should shrink. So let's see your flex. So by default, so if no, that is like equal spacing, all elements are going to have. If I do a flex shrink, so flex shrink is okay. So basically this is going to be 6 and no. So I have flex shrink, right, and this is my container. So like the moment I try squeezing this container, again this is going to be, so how much space is this item going to take from the available space, right? The flex shrink controls how much a flex item is allowed to shrink. So how much should this shrink when there's not enough space? So when I'm going to have a okay, when I'm okay, let's say I give this a height and a width. So I give it so my width is say like so my width is 100 pixel, Let's go back to our diagram. Okay, this is how my, so now you can see the elements are coming on. Okay, now my size of the container has shrunk, right? So what I'm going to, so this should shrink as uh, this is shrink. So then if I do shrink over here one, then I remove this, so what I'm going to do is, so this is going to shrink so that all the other elements can be, yeah. Oh, does it? uh, Let me see if there's something. So I give this as a width, and then so this is how okay, let's have done items 2. No, imagine a flex container which is 400 pixel pi, and you have 3 items, 200, 200, 200, 200. The total is 600, so it's an overflow. They will shrink equally to fit in 400. So okay, yeah. So this is basically when we are having elements overflowing, right? So if I have an overflow, but then that flat has to be the grid flex shrink. But this is a container sibling property, right? The items property. Uh, okay, so I'm going to say. So right now I'm not shrinking all of them. What's the actual? If I go into inspect, go to my body. And this total div is basically okay. This is the total class, right? This is going to be 100 cross 18. Okay. Mhm. There is a gap. So if I remove the gap, okay. So now what has happened is this high has shrunk so that all other is coming inside. So by default there is not going to be any. Okay, first let's see. Let's get rid of this gap and see what happens here. So there is little space available as well. If I okay, let's remove this thing. Now what is going to happen? So this is still the same. So this is item 2 research I have. If I this is okay, right now I have some space available, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to say let my items take all the space available so that such that okay, let's apply flex grow here. Let this grow so that so by default it gets squeezed to the minimum possible value. So yeah, this is going to be such that the remaining space will be. What is going to happen is first is all the elements are going to be pushed to the right, and then whatever the space is calculated is what is happening. Okay. Now, but if my container size is smaller than, instead of having 100, let's say this is a 70. So if this is 70, no, if this is 60. No, if it's like 40 or 50. Okay, so now 2 is coming out, right? Now what I'm going to do is, if I do a so let's go to items. Let's make this a flex shrink one. Now when I do this, so it is so I should one shrink if needed. Flex shrink is usually combined with flex grow. So if I'm okay, instead of applying it on items, what if I apply it on items too? Is there any change? No. So when okay, this what is going to happen? The zero sets the flex item not to shrink if parent container shrinks. Now set flex items to shrink equally if parent. Okay. Is this on the items or is it on the container itself? Let's see. Flex grow is going to be on the content. Mm, let's shrink this even more. Let's say, let's shrink this twice. What is happening? I'm trying to fit that. Um, okay, so a container whose width is okay. So what I'm going to do is this is one. So one. So this is one third, right? So one. 600 of yeah, one third is 200, right? No, but I can do this. If this is total is say 100, yeah, I should apply it on both. But shrinking one item is not going to help me here. So let's say let's have one property over here. So if I say this is items, now what I do is I go and give it a one. No. Yeah, so what is going to happen is now both are going to shrink equally. It's not shrinking. This is going to be width is or the width is too small to even fit it. Let's say this is 90 or something. Okay, so 90 is bigger. 80 is a little bit small. This is 60. So now what I've done is I've shrunk so that so this is flex shrink is going to apply on both, right? This is 1 1. So this is 30. So this has to be 30 30 in that way. Let's come and see how much is this. Now each item wants to be 200 pixel. Uh, there is one more property called as flex basis. Let's see. What does that do? Flex basis is basically going to a core part. Okay. How wide a flex item should be before growing or shrinking kicks in. It's like the starting size. So what should be the starting size of the flex? If I say the starting size is like 10 pixel. By default, it's going to take the size of the content. So if I want to change the size, uh, okay, I get, so by default the size of flex items is going to be container size. Flex items, the size of the, no, uh like it will be the size. Oh, I wrote it wrong. Wait. By default, the size of flex items is going to be the size of the content. How much it is? It's going to shrink so that it takes uh, so by default it's going to be flex 0 1. So flex basically is not grow to fill extra spaces, and 1 is basically shrink if necessary. So this is the by default thing. Okay, flex. Okay, let's see. So uh, like mostly in the case of overflow, flex shrink indicates how much I okay, how much items are going to shrink when we need to uh, fit in all content in the box itself. And by default this is going to be 1. By default this value is going to be 1. Okay, so by default the value is going to be 1. If I go to flex go, 1 means equal size. And then if I have flex base, so flex basis is like starting size, starting size of the elements, how much it should be. So by default it is going to be size of content. Okay, and then so what we should do is, so we should say if we give it like an initial size, so we say let all elements have some, instead of having like set it to auto, what we are going to do is, now this is going to be items, and then I'm going to say flex basis, and then let's say this is 20 pixels. Okay, and then let's say this is items 2. This is again flex basis 20 pixels. This is the initial size of the container, and then flex shrink is, I'm going to shrink it to some value, right? So let's say this is 1, and if I do flex, okay, let's have this as 1. So now when I'll be calculating this value, this is going to be flex, something mistake here. Oh yeah, this is going to say starting size is 20. This is 60. This is half half, right? This is 30 30. Okay. So this is my like starting size. If it's 150, it will start from 20, and then how much space I have. So half of is 30 30, right? So is it that way? Let's see the size, how much. It's 17.33 and something just coming. By default, this is taking some large size, right? Okay, what if I have the same content as that? Because this is bigger content, so I guess let's get rid of this items here. Now this is high. Hmm. Let's see. Flex shrink, uh, flex basis. So flex basis mentions the initial size, right? Is it? This is my container. I have 20. So this 20 is going to be flex basis, is it? Uh, mm, flex basis, is it for the starting size? For example, so now what happens if I say flex basis along with grow and shrink? Uh, Now flex starting 200, shrink if needed, grow if there's an extra space. Okay, so what is I'm going to have? Okay, what is going to happen is, yeah, I understand now. So let's, so suppose if this is my container, right, and then these are my child elements. Uh, so this is child one, this is child two, and then yeah, this is the space, right? So initially, I've set flag basis to this. So this is like 20, and this total size is say like uh, this is like 100. So 100 is total over here. 20, and then this is say 20, right? So this is 100, and this is going to be. Now what if I set it? Okay. So what I'm no. Let's erase. Now, what if I set this as flex grow? Still, there is some like 60 pixel space available, right? So, what is going to happen is this content is going to come. So, how and like I'm going to split this 60 pixel to this so that it's going to take that much. And then suppose this is my This is my container, and was these are going to be my elements, right? So I have one element here, and then I have one more. So now remember, okay, this is total is 100. This total is like 100, and then so what I'm going to do is again this space is like say 20, and this is 20 pixels, right? Both of them, and I applied shrink to both. Now what is going to happen is now this, and the initial size is say 20 pixels, so uh now half, right? So this is half of this is 50 total flex. So now what is going to happen, so I have 80 pixels available, right? If you see, no, because after 20 it's 80, right? This 80 is going to get distributed equally, so 40, so both of the content should be, this should fill exactly inside, right? How is he calculating this? So we have a flex container 600, then I have 3 items, so I have 200 pixels. All of them are starting is 200, right? I'm going to shrink it to total. So total flex space is going to be 40, right? The remaining how much I have is 60. So now uh, is it 1/3 of 200? What if my width is say, so if the width is 400, then you're saying each size is going to be 133. How is this calculated? And starting size is 200. This is my flex basis, right? Container is large. Is it 1/3 of 400? Uh, no. Is it 1/3 of 400? Yeah, it's doing 1/3 of. It was flex. When we shrink it, also there is some caveat to it. Oh, I get what she's trying to. So flex basis, it doesn't guarantee that it's a fixed size. Okay, so yeah, I have two possible scenarios for flex basis. Let's see. So first is when fits flex when it is flex basis, and then we're going to say uh, let's change the color. Let's make it white. So when we say the size, okay, size of Flex. So flex basis indicates the start size when there is no overflow. So if there is overflow, okay, let's say if there is overflow, then if I have shrink, then size will shrink based on the flex shrink. Now there is one more thing. If let's see, uh, if there is no shrinkage and we have empty space available avail available uh, then flex basis is going to be the starting size, and flex grow indicates how am I going to grow the element to occupy remaining space. I guess this is mm, uh, what happened. Flex basis indicates the starting when there's no overflow. If there is overflow, uh, yeah, that is what is going to be. And flex basis doesn't guarantee starting size when there is, by default it's set to, it's not going to guarantee the starting size when there is overflow. Oh, what is happening? Then flex basis is the starting size. Yeah. Then we have flex grow coming into picture. Yeah, that's all. Perfect. The next thing that we are going to, so this is so either here you can only arrange either it in rows or columns, right? So flex basis property value. There are multiple values you can put in. So first is default. Basically, um, using the size of the content. So this is all the possible values of flex basis. First is default. Basically, that is going to use the um, content size of the width, how much bigger, how much smaller the element is. Okay. Then you have length, indicating a starting size, 0 with 0 size. The flex can take control. Now this is very length starts with 0 size. Then I have, okay, if it's 0, then starting with 0, no flex control. So content is very rare. Uses the size of the content, not widely supported, and inherit, initial, onset. These are like standard CSS keywords for inheritance or resetting something. Okay. So I guess that's all for this lecture. I'll see you guys in the next one. Till that time, take care. Bye bye.